Everybody's back. Cool. So yeah, Michal, your turn.
Oh yeah. Second, sharing my screen. Host disabled participant
Yeah,
screen sharing.
let me fix it once again. Da-da-da-da. Okay, should be okay now.
Desktop. Cool. Okay, so basically there exists two presentations. One is Waydraw Robin, which is like a high concept. It was part, I think, the previous session. Now what we have is the Core DNS plugin. Basically, Core DNS plugin, Core DNS could be modified several ways. The one way is that you go directly to Core DNS, get it from the GitHub, clone it, and start to do within the plugin directory, you start to implement your plugin. What do you need to do? You will implement one interface and basically change something which is called Z directives. And there is Z directives, which is like a list of possible plugins. And you can set up the order of plugins, how they will be like executed. So, or you can disable it here. But it is quite difficult to make a PR into the core DNS. And sometimes what you are doing is so much customized that they will not approve your PR. So the second way how to do it is you make a wrapper. You create your own plugin and you can use all plugins within the core DNS, and you just extend it and run it within your pod. So this is like a second way how to implement plugins through that wrapper. And this is the way how we are doing it. Basically, I created 2 or maybe already 3 PRs within Core DNS CRD plugin, which implements Waydraw-Drobin. One is Waydraw-Drobin implementation. Second PR there is that I switched the Terra tests from UDP to TCP. And also I had to implement the Terra test, so I did it. They are the Terra test implementation for the Waydraw-Drobin, but only within the core DNS CRD plugin, not for whole KGB. And also I switched to Go 118. Okay, here is a mistake. Here is 119, but it's switched to 118. The PR is not opened here. It's just draft because there are so many changes that I'm waiting for you guys to approve those 2. After that, I can enable this one. And after the approving, I will merge. So now just next slide is about how I implemented it. Because our course DNS CRD plugin is basically now it's doing like a multiple, it has multiple functionalities. I had to define something like submodules. I split it to some parts. One part is like a common, which in the common you can find for instance, the directives manager, because what we have here, when I'm executing the CRD plugin, I want to change these Z directives. Basically, we are like disabling some stuffs, we are removing some stuffs, some plugins, and also we are inserting them into the Z directives. So I implemented the manager, which can very simply modify that list. So before we execute, before we run the project, doing the changes with that list. So this is like the first change I did. That is said that the dinner is not here because basically it was mostly for him, this part. Second thing is that there is like a common directory which contains all common functionality. Like a directives manager, there is something which is Kubernetes controller, which is some functionality running next to the CoreDNS plugin in the special Go routine and talking with us through some channel, and it watches the endpoints, etc. I will return to it very soon. There are also the shared mocks and some network utils for dig and reading endpoints and doing such stuff. So this was the directives manager. It's just the abstraction over the directives list. And the most important part is the service directory. Service directory contains like a particular service or particular submodules, because the CoreDNS is based on the plugins. You know, if you go to the CoreDNS, you will find there the plugin directory, and it contains all possible plugins like a logging or file or host or whatever. All of them are here, and their mirror is within the directives. But because we can't extend it, I have like several options. I start to implement my own plugins, which is totally fine, or I specify like some kind of my plugins, where I did it. So here is the CoreDNS plugin handler interface, and all plugins in current CoreDNS implement this, including our plugin. The problem is the Kubernetes kube controller functionality, which means that we need somewhere each plugin will instantiate the new Kubernetes controller, which is some like a huge beast living somewhere in memory. And this is the thing which is connecting to Kubernetes, and it's doing something, you know. And wait round robin, because it's working with the DNS endpoints and watch them, needs to instantiate it, the same as Kubernetes CRD or other plugin, you know. So I can do it like this way, that I will implement the CoreDNS CRD plugin handler, and each my plugin I will implement within on this place. I will implement the several plugins, and each one will instantiate that stuff. And or what I can do the same, but basically I can do something like my plugins. They will still implement plugin handler like as they did it before, but they will be executed by some container, you know. So this container contains this Kubernetes controller, and it can inject it there. It can instantiate particular any plugin, but it will instantiate only my plugins, because I specified it somewhere in the code that those two are instantiated by this one, gateway or Vader Rubin or any other. And it holds the instance of Kubernetes controller. So it works like a sub plugin, but it still implements the original interface as the same way as I do it here. So in the future, for now, for me, it's like it is easier to do it this way. But if I decide anytime, or if we decide anytime to do some simple refactoring, for any reason, we will decide that we want to split it back into some original plugins, and each one will have like this Kubernetes controller, or we will do it different way. We just remove this part. And those will be registered the standard way, you know, and it's only difference, and this difference is also visible in configuration, because here we have core file. Basically, if you configure the standard plugin, for instance log, it is this one, but our is like a JSON, and it has some like sub plugins or some like properties here, and I can specify the sub plugins here. You know, I can just do that, my new plugin 100, you know, or something like that. So this will be only different. So yeah, so this is like
So,
a core.
So that looks totally interesting. So do you still need to recompile as a like standard core DNS way? Like there is no dynamic pluggability, right? You need to recompile the whole thing. So in this case, do you still need to do it?
Yes, Yuri, you need to do it, because it's if it is implemented, and you want to use the load balance, for instance, if I don't want to use load balance or wide-route Robin, I just remove this. And once I want to use it, I just put it back. So I change the configuration. But this part definitely needs to be any change here. It is like a class, and this class implementing some interface needs to be always recompiled. Always any change here must be recompiled. And depends on me, because the container can read this configuration, and once the configuration has changed, the container will accept those changes and instantiate those stuffs. You know,
so if I'm not mistaken, Michal, the plugin mechanism in core DNS, it was also like you had to recompile, right? And then you could tell what stuff you are enabling and what not. So
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, so my
it's just second level.
Like,
it's just second level of plugins, or what is it's just second level. You can imagine it's like a second level, because the plugins, if I want to use the plugin called host, I just write host and like rerun the pod. You know, just restart the pod and it starts to use the host. You know, if I change the configuration.
To having this additional kind of layer of abstraction for us.
Yeah, definitely.
What kind of so I'm just like trying to understand what kind of problems we are addressing here, because this was one of the problems of this is why we had work right out of core DNS to add our stuff, because we had to compile. But at the same time, we can, you know, keep adding our plugins the way how
because we have this one Kubernetes CRD plugin, and I can implement like a new plugin, which, or take this one because it's still implementing the core DNS plugin handler, like a log or anyone else, and do it this way, technically with some small changes. But now everything is under the one Kubernetes CRD, you know. And the main reason for that is, okay, one reason is like encapsulation, because we have like everything within one plugin. But the second one, and it is more important for me, is this beast, Kubernetes controller, which is some client connected to Kubernetes cluster. And basically these stuffs are talking with that client, you know. And what I can do, I can share that client for everyone through the container, because there is like the inversion of control, you know. I just specify some configuration, and this stuff can instantiate those two plugins or anyone else I implement, and also it can inject the things inside what I want, because that's why I want it. Or I can instantiate this stuff for each instance I need. So at the end of the day, if we have like more plugins talking with this client, each one will instantiate separately.
Okay, so we're talking. I mean, that's the old one, right? So with the new one, we'd like to reuse the.
Yeah. And I just wrote some abstraction. Okay, there is some interface which this abstraction implements. It's not so important, but the thing is that there is some container which can read this configuration, and based on that, it instantiates the stuffs I want and inject there what I want.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to understand, right?
Yeah.
So from memory utilization point of view.
Yeah. But also it's, I don't know, there could be some like maybe power usage and bullshit, so you don't want to have so many clients open it and each one is talking with the Kubernetes, etc. We are fine with the one. So that's it, but it is still easy to refactor. We can anytime return here. It's not so difficult task, because I'm still each plugin still implements this core DNS plugin handler, like the original plugins. So that's it. That's okay. I know it's a bit like, it could be like a bit complicated, and maybe if we find in the future that this thing is like not good from any reason, for now it's working, but if we find it is not good, I will quickly remove and go to this one.
Yeah, it's not only about the complication, but also like what kind of things or like problems it addresses.
Yeah.
And if we want to, let's say, if you're talking about like 1-2 plugins, right? So we might probably overcomplicating things without getting like benefits. If we want, reutilize like controller component with our plugins, that makes sense. But yeah, Yuri, sorry, interrupted you.
Yeah, because before everything was like on the one heap. All that stuff, the gateway plugin and the geo IP, etc. And it was very large. So I had to split into the particular packages and make some like a project design, so split into the classes, etc. So now there is like services, and there is the gateway, and they are like a completely, they are also the packages, and those packages, they are completely like separated, So
Yuri, sorry, we interrupted you. You wanted to ask something.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. So it looks to me that core DNS plugin is much more now than just CRD integration, right? So it's like a K8GB plugin, which provides a manager for K8GB related sub plugins. So I mean, like it's a much more scope now, and yeah, it looks to me that it becomes more and more kind of integral part of the K8GB project itself. Like it was before definitely important part, but now it's like encapsulates more and more logic. So yeah, that's it. This direction looks reasonable to me if it simplifies the management of this sub model plugins and associated code bases. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but still take it like for the outside. If we have this one, or sorry, this one or this one, the effect will be still same. You need put it into configuration.
They're still compatible, so you're not breaking APIs.
Yeah, but you still put it into the configuration just a little bit different way.
Okay, so
second thing is that this thing still holds like multiple plugins, So, and you enable them via configuration. So yeah, it will grow definitely. And we are ready for that grow because because it's also always about the shuffling of returned IPs. This is like a main goal of CRD plugin, the retrieving the IPs, some IPs come, we retrieve it somehow, if we decide to implement, for instance, consistent hashing, probably it's going to be like a next box here, and it's gonna be again about some kind of shuffling IPs.
So I have then like probably follow-up question about naming, right? I guess well, my thinking was that's why I was asking, right? So this is just like thoroughly core DNS, right? Just fork scope, right? With some additions. So if we think about let's say yeah, how you emphasize that the kind of plugin hosts for like KGB, right? With now core DNS becoming like one of the parts through that compatibility layer. Maybe, yeah, so it's not a core DNS CRD plugin anymore. It's like KGB plugin or something like that. So what do you guys think?
Well, I was thinking about KGB core DNS.
KGB core. KGB core, it sounds fancy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like I think I mean it's not only about core DNS functionality. So yeah,
we can create a following task, follow-up task, and rename that.
Cool.
For sure.
Thanks a lot. And I guess you also had some part of with WRR presentation.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting, and especially in the scope of the KubeCon preparation, right? So that yeah, we can start with that and see what we can squeeze.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah.
I have a card stop in 2 minutes, guys. So if possible, can we make it next week, the WRR?
Yeah, we can do next week. Let's see if we can schedule. Maybe just schedule a separate meeting for demo for
Okay, yeah.
preparation.
That sounds good.
Okay. I will start to prepare it. Yeah, regarding that, I just want to mention that within KGB, I also make a PR for removing the percentage. So if you approve those two, or this one at least, and remove this one, we should leave totally without the percentage. So forget about the percentage then, and we will leave only with the portions.
Good to know.
Yeah, so we will be 100% about portions and forget the percentage.
So thanks a lot for presentation. Actually,
yeah,
thank you so much. Great job.
Yeah,
all right,
thanks.
It was great to see you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, see you around, and yeah, wait for recordings.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Ciao.